Hello, my name is Dr. Ken Tittle, and I'm an endodontist in Pleasant Hill and Walnut Creek. I wanted to go over with you today a quick video about what to do if your child's tooth is injured and the importance of the actions that are taken at the scene of the accident to see that minimum damage is done when there's been an injury. So the problem with these types of injuries is they're never planned. It's usually when we're doing something fun. Most of the time, kids are not going to wear a mouth guard when they're playing and something that could injure their teeth. Sometimes they can, but usually it's something like this where it was
You're
impromptu.
on.
They all decided to get together and do
You're
something
videoing.
that was
Go.
creative and fun. And when this kind of thing goes on and everyone's heads are snapping back and forth and their mouths are open,
Oh
certainly they
my
can get bumped
gracious.
while their mouth is open and unprotected and knock out a tooth. So the subject of this quick video is what to do if a kid's tooth is knocked out. The problem is this happens about 5 million times a year in the US. And like I said, most of the time these kids are not being protected by a mouth guard. The amount of time that the tooth is out of their mouth before it's put back into the socket where it was ejected from is critical in terms of how this tooth is going to be retained for the rest of this child's life. So if we can get it back in within half an hour, generally that's going to be doing pretty well. But I really feel that 5 minutes is critical. We can sometimes replant these teeth after 6 to 48 hours, but usually what's going to happen is the cells on the outside of the tooth will not survive, and the bone will grow into the root, and that tooth will be slowly resorbed or dissolved by the bone over time. So treatment at the scene of the accident is critical. It's going to be chaotic. People are going to be upset, and someone there needs to take control, get people calmed down, find the tooth, and gently clean the tooth with water or saliva and replace it in the socket. I can't stress this enough. Nothing that is done downstream from this will affect the retention of this tooth anywhere near as much as someone doing this for the child that's been injured. If that's not possible, there are a few other options. You can put the avulsed or tooth that has been knocked out in Hank's Balanced salt solution, which is commercially available with a product called Save a Tooth. You can put it in cold milk, or you can put it in the vestibule, and that is the space between the teeth and the cheek next to where the tooth came out. Really, you never want to allow it to dry. You want to wrap it in plastic and keep it cold if you can. Do not put it in tap water. So this is kind of a gory picture, but this is what you will be looking at when a tooth has been knocked out of a child's mouth. And it is important, again, to get that tooth back in the socket as soon as possible. If you can't do that, this is that product I was talking about, the Save a Tooth, that is commercially available. And this is a great way to preserve a tooth for a while if it can't be replanted right at the scene. So this child's tooth was knocked out. I believe they were playing tag at a late night activity at their church. And the mother found that tooth and immediately replanted it. And you can see how this tooth is a little farther out of the socket than this one over here. But this is a fantastic job that mom did for her daughter. What's important about that with this tooth is this dark space inside the tooth is the nerve space that is still continuing to develop. Over time, this root should get longer, and this dark space will fill in with more strong tooth. If the nerve dies at this point, this tooth will always be weak because these walls here will be real thin, and also the root will be real short. So if we can do anything to preserve the aliveness of the cells inside here and get this area to thicken and maybe this area to lengthen, that would be ideal. So by replacing this tooth with a young opening at the tip of the root here immediately, we can then get some reestablishment of the blood supply that was severed from the bone to the cells inside the tooth. And that will actually reestablish and get all the way up to the top part of the tooth and re-nourish those cells. So when this child showed up to my office, We wanted to splint it to get it in better position and take a three-dimensional view that we can see exactly where this root is into the socket and make sure that it's back where it needs to be and that there are no other fractures of this tooth. Then we really don't need to do much other than follow it carefully. This is what it looked like after just 3 months. I still wasn't too happy with where it was in relation to the other tooth, but I was very happy to see that there was no sign of infection around the end of the tooth, and the nerve was starting to fill in with new tooth that only the cells inside the pulp or the nerve inside the tooth can create. This is what it looked like after 7 months. And remember, I said if everything went ideal, we could get this root to get a little bit longer. That is actually happening with this tooth. It's reestablished all the blood supply inside here after it was knocked entirely out of the mouth and replanted immediately by the mom who knew what to do. So now we have what basically looks like a mature adult tooth, and there is no reason to think that this tooth is going to need to come out any time sooner than any other tooth in her mouth based on that incredible first aid that was done at the scene of the accident. So the idea is we want to preserve smiles that look like these at every stage of development. When teeth are lost when someone is very young, like the boy on the right, that can be very difficult to keep that tooth there. So again, it's important to take control of the seam and get that tooth back into where it needs to be.